Hello and welcome to the Great Game Debate Podcast, where we bring our A game to great debates. As always, I'm your host, Caden, and we are not complete, of course, without the godfather of the debate, Jonah Gomez. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. I'd give that maybe a 7 out of 10 for intros.
On my intro, I got to work on it. Well, we got to get the aggregate review.
Yeah.
Austin, what is your review score of my intro?
I'm not a believer in review numbers. I would give the opinion that
I
you did a
see.
great job, but I don't think I'd put a number on it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and we're pleased our special guest this week is Ronell, aka 8-Bit Close Fist from the Checkpoint Show. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. I would recommend your intro to casual players, not hardcore
Nice.
players, though, not hardcore listeners. So.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, we got a tight little show for our listeners today. We've got a quick debate between myself and Ronell on the topic of review scores, and then we're going to roll right into community questions. We got a lot of community questions for this episode, so I'll go ahead and hand things over to Jonah for the debate.
Whether you love them or hate them, review scores are a big part of just the gaming culture as a whole. But today, we're going to debate them with Caden representing pro review scores versus Ronell representing against review scores. I guess today we'll find out whether they're necessary or not. We also have our lovely Austin as our assist trophy today. Ronell, as our guest, would you like to open or close the debate?
Open, man. I hate them. Oh, sorry. Are we going? No.
I'll count you in. All right.
Gotcha.
Champing at the bit.
Remember, we have our 3 sections, each lasting 2 minutes. You can call your assist trophy one time for your debate, and you do not have to use your full 2 minutes. Ronell, you have 2 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
I think so.
All right. 3, 2, 1, debate.
Could you really quantify art? Its effect on people, the human experience. Can we really take a number and associate that with the amount of enjoyment every other person in the world will feel? Is that accurate? Is that a good way to do things? I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead and say that review scores absolutely should not be a thing. That's not the point of a review even at all. It's not to say whether or not something is good or it's bad. It is meant to tell us what kind of experience that person had and then put it out there in the world. And if someone else can relate to that person, maybe they will have a similar score or a similar experience. It is to not necessarily critique something. It's not necessarily to say that something is bad, why it's bad, etc. It's just to kind of explain the experience and then put it into words, or in this case, video format, and then put it out there. It's the best way to do things. These short review scores, they add all types of unnecessary knee-jerk reactions that we absolutely don't need, especially not in the gaming community. I am against fully review scores.
Leaving it
I
there.
yield my time.
Damn. Leaving 40 seconds on the clock. Yeah. Loving it.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Needs 'em.
You know what though? That was nice and tight, concise. I love it. All right. Caden, you've got your 2 minutes on the clock for your opening statement. 3, 2, 1, debate.
All right, listen. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Ronell's right, okay? He's just right. But the thing is, his opinion is right in a philosophical sense if we lived in a utopia. But we don't live in a utopia. We live in a capitalist society, baby, like it or not. We got limited time. We got limited money. This is a running theme of my last 3 debates. It's like my argument is I'm a dad and I don't have enough time. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm a dad and I don't have enough time. And in a perfect world, if there's a new game or a movie or whatever I'm interested in, I love to spend, like an hour just perusing reviews that catch my eye. I mean, I used to do that before I had a kid. I get on YouTube. I had, my dozen or so creators I was aligned with. I watch all their reviews for something, really decide if I like it. But, these days I'm lucky if I get like an hour a week to even play a game. And, in that context, I find review scores, especially in like an aggregated sense, really helpful because, I can just check, get the gut check from Metacritic, OpenCritic. Okay, is this thing even worth my time at all? Okay, it's got the 7 to 9 range. Let me check it out, and then I'll go and check out some reviews. So, yeah, I guess that's the basis of my argument. I'm come out the gate with. It's just review scores could be pragmatic and helpful for people that don't have a lot of time. So, see my time, Jonah.
All right, leaving 30 seconds on the clock.
Oh wow.
Wow, you both.
That might be the highest combination of seconds ever left on the table in a debate segment. That was over a minute.
All right. So, with us having the end of round 1, Austin, let me get your takes. How are you feeling so far?
Currently kind of sitting on the fence because what Ronell was saying is obviously very, very important, and it touches close to what I enjoy about gaming or movies or books is that you can't put your finger on what makes it special to you compared to everybody else. But also, I need something to point me in the right direction. So, I mean, a number between 1 and 10 is maybe the best we got, or maybe something else is better down the line that we'll work into. So,
All right.
still sitting in the middle, trying to figure out what I think.
All right. Let's move on to round 2, the rebuttal. Ronell, you've got 2 minutes on the clock. You still have your assist trophy. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, debate.
I agree. You know what I'm saying? Time is of the essence. We don't have time to fumble around. Some people aren't really great at reading long passages. So I think that the number at the end of the review um, can possibly lead people in the right direction, right? I think that you mentioned Open Critic, right? It's a collection of reviews, so then you're getting a general taste on things, right? The issue, however, is that even with that time crunch, even with that need to save time, you can quite possibly end up losing more if you went with some of the reviews and stuff that you see. For instance, let's say you go to an Open Critic, right? Look at the user reviews for a game. Let's say the game is terrible, right? Let's say the game is just reviewed terribly. Let's say the game is reviewed well. There's no real indicator as to why it was reviewed that well, even if the users within the review said it was a specific reason. For example, they could easily just not like a game because they couldn't get past the boss, right? They could say, "Oh yeah, this game is actually terrible because I died a million times," right? They can also say that, "Oh, this game is great because maybe it makes someone else's anger, right? Like maybe because the mere existence of a game makes someone else upset, so they're going to say that this game is great, right? Now you get that game, it turns out it's terrible, or you miss out on the game because you
30
thought
seconds.
that you read the reviews and they said it was bad. So you end up losing more time if you go off of these type of scores. You look at the Steam review scores; they're some of the worst reviews you will ever see in your life. You read it; they say, "I spent 155 million hours on this game. It's terrible because I lost once."
Time. Damn. That is such a good rebuttal. That was a solid
I do
rebuttal.
love the Steam reviews that are like, this game sucks, and they've got like 1,400 hours of the
Right?
All right, Caden, it is your turn for your rebuttal. 3, 2, 1, debate.
All right, I'm going to attempt to parry the user review condemnation by Ronell by pointing out that luckily aggregate sites like OpenCritic and Metacritic differentiate between critic reviews and user reviews. So I do agree that user reviews are literally useless, and they're usually driven by unhappiness and disappointment, and it's either all good or all bad because it's big review bombed. But you could literally just shove that to the side and look at the critic reviews, baby, which are normally a little bit more even killed. Although sometimes you get the sycophant situation where you got a travesty like Cyberpunk, and everybody's like, it's a 9 out of 10, it's a 10 out of 10, and it doesn't even work, But anyway, does that support my argument? I don't know.
Thank you.
Here's another point.
I appreciate that.
One thing that I find uh, interesting about having a review score on a review is that it does kind of force the reviewer in a way to pick a position and stick to their guns, like pick a strong position and support, like, okay, I do think this is a 7 or I do think this is a 10. And sometimes when you read reviews from sites that don't have review scores, it's a little bit
30
unclear
seconds.
how they really feel about it. Like if you translated their review and if you forced them to put a number on it, you're not quite sure what it's going to be. Like, it's easier to kind of hem and haw and say, well, this, well, that about a review if you're not forced to put a stamp on it, as a review. But how about assist trophy? Go,
All
Austin,
right.
go.
Review scores are obviously complicated, but like you were saying earlier, it's really easy to go find somebody that you've listened to before on YouTube or on a Metacritic or whatever, and check with them and know that they have similar opinions to what you have. They like what game you like, they what movie you
30
like,
seconds.
and then bounce it off of them, and then go through and really take the time to consider like what you're going to get into. And that's a lot of things that the reason that I think that a uh, number is great is because it gives you the opportunity to know what you're getting into before you spend all the time there.
All right. Very good. Caden, you literally called like your assist trophy like right at
Right
the
as I ran
timer.
out of time.
And I said 30 seconds. I meant to say 15 seconds. My bad.
Nice, nice.
All right. That's the end of round 2. Austin as the assist trophy. You actually got used on this round. So how are you feeling so far? Give me some thoughts. Give me some thoughts.
I think both sides have good points. I think maybe one side has a better point of the artistic representation in video games,
Okay.
but it's still
You
to
still,
argue that one side is right and one side is wrong
Yeah.
is foolish in my opinion. But
hey,
there's
that's why we're
definitely
here though.
yes,
We are
exactly.
nothing but fools.
Spoilers, Austin. You're gonna have to vote in the end. So
Yeah.
they're climb off that fence.
Maybe I'm just trying to be polite to the person who's losing right now.
Damn. Damn.
All right. Well, with that, we'll move on to the third and final round. Ronell, you still have your assist trophy. Do not feel pressured into using him. You've got 2 minutes on the clock for your closing thoughts. 3, 2, 1, debate.
We know user scores are trash. We could throw that out the window now. All right, that leaves us with critic reviews. Even that, we got to think about the systems in which they have to review these games, right? We got Outer Worlds 2, right? That's getting sent out maybe what, a week, not even barely, right? Maybe a week before the game releases. Therefore, they have to play that entire game before that game releases. And since they're putting that number score, they have to stamp it with a certified opinion for a game that takes, right? How many hours? How much time? Right? This is not also considering the fact that they're juggling other games, other real life things. They kind of got to rush through it a little bit. That's just a drastically different experience, and they have to rush through it because they have to put that number score, right? I'm not against someone reviewing a game, right? Taking their time, you understanding that creator, you getting with them and like really understanding their tastes, understanding their points. But when they have to shrink it down, rush through it so that they can put that stamp of a number that's fairly arbitrary, that's when we get into weird things, right? Let alone the fact that there's IGN and other big publications that have to put that number as well. But then that number could be different from another author's number. And then you just see IGN, unless you look at the tiny, tiny, tiny words that says they're, the author who wrote it. And that just gets into all types of weird,
30 seconds.
confusing experiences dealing with, is this game worth a 7, but that game's worth a 8, but that game's worth a 9? So how can it's an unnecessary evil for the consumer, right? Understandable evil for the big publications that want that little screenshot to post and create conversations for. But for us, it's not healthy, right? When have you ever recommended a game to your friend and said, "Oh, it's about a 6 out of 10, but you should play it," right?
I'm
Never. Just tell them why.
Austin. Whenever you recommend games to me, I want you to give me a number score. That sounds so funny to me, dude.
Oh, God. What was the
Imagine-
meme back in the day? 5 out of 7 perfect score.
Right? Imagine recommending someone play a 7 out of 10 game that just
Right.
Yeah.
it's not gonna
There's
work.
almost like an unspoken rule that like you're only recommending games that are like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's like, of course, to you it's a 9 out of
Right.
10, or you wouldn't be recommending it. It's
Right.
interesting to think about.
All right, Caden, you're closing us out. You've got 2 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, 1, debate.
Okay. It doesn't always work perfectly, but I do think one interesting, perhaps unintended side effect of review scores is that it does provide a means of feedback to publishers and developers from outside of their, insular like company, I guess. And in some cases, one example I could think of recently from this year would be like Monster Hunter Wilds, where the game has got slammed with like overwhelmingly negative reviews because of its performance. And you've seen the sales of the game also drop off a cliff. It's like just the hype generated millions of sales out the gate, and then immediately the sales dropped off a cliff once word of mouth started spreading about the issues with the game. And I think that that potentially is a plus for consumers because, you would think that the company Capcom over Monster Hunter would take these reviews to heart and be like, okay, we really messed up. It's affecting our bottom line because the review scores are coming out. The word of mouth is spreading that the game is not up to scratch. We can't do this again next time
30 seconds.
because we're not going to get those out the gate sales off of hype because the hype's not going to be there because of the terrible reviews of the last game. So we really got to make sure it's a quality product. I think that's about all I got.
All right, leaving 15 seconds.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Ending it with nothing but confidence. I love it.
You can tell that this is my factual, real opinion that I'm very passionate about.
All right, Austin, let's get your final thoughts and your vote.
I think Caden did actually come out at the last end there with a very solid point of like it being something that's useful for both us and the company to really gauge on what people actually think about the game, but also like even just like when an update comes out and changes a little bit of thing and all of a sudden they're getting negative reviews about it, it really can be used for a positive effect. But man, the way we do it is terrible. Like from everything from like gaming, where the critics will have one review and the players will have another, to movies. You can see it on Rotten Tomatoes. They'll give you two separate reviews, both like just like a perfect or a terrible on one or the other, and it doesn't help. You never know which one's right, and it to base your opinion off of somebody else's opinion, just who might have just gone in there to be funny or to try to throw off the numbers or whatever, is just poor choices in my opinion.
And I guess if you think about it, the Steam reviews are a numbered system essentially, right? Because there's only like
Mm.
5 ways to do it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
just like a slight wording change. You know what I mean? But it
Mhm.
works
Yeah.
Yeah,
better.
it's like out of 5 stars.
All right. And your vote, Austin? You shared your thoughts, but
Oh,
you
for
didn't.
sure. Yeah, sorry. I thought it was clear, but for sure against review numbers being the end all be all for gaming
All
and
right.
reviewing of things.
No, awesome. All right, that's 1 point for Ronell. Caden, you surprisingly brought some good points up at the end there. I was
I tried.
by the end of your rebuttal, I was like, "Oh, come on, bro, come on!" But you brought it back. You brought it back. That being said, I think Ronell just debated it better today. He's locked in on that, so that'll be my vote for Ronell. And to our community, if you guys would like
Understandable.
to also vote to see who won or come up to see who wins the debate, it's all down to you, and you need to cast your votes on our Cast Your Votes channel in the Discord. Links are in the description. And with that, we'll move on to our community questions. Oh wait, never mind. Hold on.
Jonah,
Do
we're
you have?
not moving on.
We're not moving on.
I have one last question for you, Jonah.
Oh, okay.
If you had to rate Ronell's debate out of 10, what would you rate it?
Okay, so he used all of his time on 2 of his segments, which was really good. While he didn't use all of his time on the beginning, it was extremely strong. Also did not use the assist trophy, which is okay. I'll give it an 8.5. It was a very solid debate. Caden, if I were to
Fell
give
for my
you,
trap, Jonah.
if I were to
Fell
give
for my
you,
trap.
if I were to
You
give
weren't
you,
supposed to review his debate. That was the whole point.
I just gave you a whole review and then put a score on it. Now, if I'm gonna give you a review score, I'm gonna say it's probably a 6 because you're no, I'm just kidding.
All right, now it's time for some community questions.
That's funny.
All right, before we continue, just a quick shout out to our patrons, of course. Thank you so much to Dan Giesler, Pucho, Randall Reborn. And we have a new patron. So thank you so much to our new patron, Louis Fritz the Fifth, perhaps Louis Fritz the Fifth. Kingly regal name, either way. Hopefully one of those pronunciations is right. And of course, shout out to Cherie Clark. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Cherie's Jonah's mom, Ronell.
Thanks, Mom.
All right. And so, just so our listeners get to know a little bit about you before we get to the community questions, Ronell, I'd like to just do a short interview with you, give you a chance to plug your stuff and all that kind of stuff. But we know you from Checkpoint, the Checkpoint show on YouTube. And I do recommend it. I watched your most recent episode, which was what inspired the debate topic. You guys covered a lot of information about debates and the history of debates and sites that changed to unscored debates and
You mean reviews?
Their metrics. Sorry,
Yeah,
reviews. Yeah. And you kind of looked at the inception of aggregate review sites and stuff. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It's very, very good listen. But yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the show and let people know where they can follow your stuff.
For sure. I mostly do short form, right, on TikTok and Instagram, 8-bit closed fist, 8bit closed fist. Yeah, but I did want to do something because, I missed the G4 Attack of the Shows and X-Play kind of vibes. So I teamed up with a bunch of friends. Shout out to Larksine and Zeno Robinson. We got together. We created a fun little show that is on YouTube. So we got YouTube, Checkpoint the Show. I also have my own YouTube, 8-Bit Closed Fist, where I kind of do more long form reviews, no numbers at the end, and previews and video game essay type vibes. but yeah, that's kind of me. Just talking about video games, hot takes, keeping my finger on the pulse of the culture, etc.
And what are just some touchstones of like your favorite games or like formative games for you?
Yeah, lot of cool, fun community type stuff. I like playing with people, so a lot of multiplayer, Marvel vs. Capcom,
Nice.
Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom specifically is probably my favorite. Guitar Hero 2, 3 is one of my favorites.
Hell yeah.
But I love a good Portal 2 was a
Hmm.
big moment for me.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 might end up being my favorite game of all time.
Dude.
Shit's
Nice
fucking
choice.
great.
Yeah.
And League of Legends. I gotta say some League of Legends. I be trying to hide it. I be wanting to keep it away from the people, but the truth be told, I mean, the game that you've been playing for a decade gotta get a mention. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice. Yeah, you sound like you have a wide array of tastes and appreciations.
yeah,
Well-rounded.
it's a lot of stuff.
All right, so that will get into our first community question. All right, so this one comes in from Elf Servant 5. What measurements would give clear things to care about? We talk about the game Dispatch and its story. It's a new game that just came out, story-based, Telltale-like. If the focus is the story, like in a Telltale game, is it okay if the gameplay is meh? Dark Souls is loved for combat, but the story is mostly muddled. I deal with this as a professor where my goal is course objectives, but some concepts get lost in the weeds because those aren't my focus. So yeah, what do you guys think about, is there some way we could like label a game review as like the core thing this game's trying to do is the story or the combat or the puzzles, and like you're primarily basing on that? Is that too complicated?
See, this
What do
is
you think, Jonah?
this is why I wish Steven was here, because he's so good at like grading like games and stuff and
Oh, okay.
giving his like sharing his opinion in like a review factor. For me, I'm terrible at like
Hmm.
actually putting a number or something out there. I more like to just share my vibes
Hmm.
with games. And so like with us as the GGD, I've always kind of pondered the idea of us doing reviews or previews and stuff, and maybe trying to slap a number behind it. But like, it's like, okay, well, we'll just come up with a rubric to get like a score. That way, it's not necessarily just like a score based off a vibe, because I feel like that's kind of how 7 becomes an average, you know?
Mhm.
Instead of 5 should be like a mediocre game, now 7s are. So like, how do we do that? But then that kind of falls on, well, it's a narrative focused game, and it's kind of a walking sim, for lack of better words. So the gameplay's not really great, but the storytelling and the visuals are, and maybe the music is. But like, now it gets like this really like uh big negative, because I'm just walking around. But like, when you're playing the game, it's like, oh man, this is like a 10 out of 10 game in my opinion. But because the gameplay isn't there, like, it kind of sucks. Or like LF Servant said, the um with Dark Souls, like, that's a big thing for me, is I don't like Dark Souls because I feel like the story is super lacking. And so like, and like, I'm just not like a big hardcore like third person action game kind of guy, so it never appealed to me. But like, I don't know, from trying to start like a review process, it's hard. It's hard to like put my finger on it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. That's why I kind of don't do that, right? Like I think the best way to
Mm.
handle that situation, in my opinion, is to get to know the people who are reviewing it. That's why I think the whole system should be different. I got a whole idea for a whole new system, but like I think the whole system should be different in which you get to know the people, right? If I love complex systems and gameplay and I have a short attention span, then if I say I like, dispatch, which is not necessarily any of that I just named, then like maybe there's something there that is so good that maybe someone else can give it a try, right? On the flip side of it, if I really just like deep and very cool and interesting worlds and lore, and I read all the books I come across, right? And I'm not like a crazy mechanics guy. If I say, this game is good, then you understand that like chances are it has those things that I just mentioned. So I just think it kind of goes with like the type of players
Yeah,
who it is. You got to figure out what type of player it is. That's kind of the only way, unless they really, describe that for you on page or whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. Austin, you got any thoughts on it?
Uh, I think that way that like he was talking about getting measurements that would help keep it clear for the people looking at the reviews. I think if we actually took each game and kind of like separated it into like this is the category of games that's very story driven and this is the category of games that's very combat driven, and then compared them to other games that are in there instead of just being like this game is great because I said so. Like I think having
Oh,
like being able to separate games out to their own little deal and then compare and contrast to with other games that have been big hits would help, instead of just putting a slapping a number on it and then throwing into the big old pile of games that have come out this
I
year.
see. So you're
um
saying it's like categorized, like it's got its score based on the category of games that you'd place it in. I like that idea
Steam
actually.
kinda does that too. If you go to the game page, it shows in the bottom or on aside one of the bar thingies is like, similar games that you've played, that are like what you're looking at. So if they were to take that one
Sure.
step further and make it so that you actually can be like, "Oh, yeah, this one people are saying they like it more, and this game that was the game of the year last year is not as good as this one, then obviously something's happening here that's really great." Um, and it would also help for games like, my favorite game of all time, which just came out, Expedition 33, hit so many high notes in so many areas. When you go bouncing through categories and you see the same game over and over and over again, you're gonna be like, oh, this one's got a lot of everything that's really good. So taking that extra process obviously would take a lot of extra work, but once you got it started and things started to vibe off of each other, I think it would help a lot more than just a
Hmm.
7 out of 10 is a good enough game to play, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So it's
also
just
think
more
that goes with
information.
the yeah, and with that, I think that goes with the kind of the marketing, right? The marketing, I think, needs to do a better job a lot of the time in kind of describing where their game placed, right? To kind of curve, understanding when they're playing the game. I know they kind of stray away from that. They don't like mentioning other games most of the time. Um, but I think, that's what people are going to do anyway, so you might as well get ahead of it.
Yeah, give it a point of
Yeah.
Yeah, I
reference.
think that's really silly
Yeah.
of publishers to just be like, we made this game in a vacuum. It's not inspired by anything. It's
Yeah.
completely original.
Exactly.
How
You
dare you
Never seen
insinuate?
anything like this
you
before.
Right.
see it all over the place in like indie games and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wear their inspirations on
Yeah.
their sleeve. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
I don't have
exactly.
any problem saying, this was
Exactly.
inspired by old school Zelda or whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
That makes sense.
So next question comes in from Captain Stubbs 1. He says, I think numbers do an incomplete job of portraying a game. A ranking system like buy it, wait for a sale, or pass feels empty. What other ranks would you add to help the consumer make the right choice? So I guess you guys can kind of take this as you will. Like, can you conceive of another ranking system besides just a number scale or something as kind of like
A recommendation kind of.
vague? That's just like,
Yeah.
it's like you either have a 10-point scale or you have buy it or don't buy it. Is there like something else you could conceive of?
Yeah, I try and go with you would like this if, or you might not
Mm,
like this if, right?
Mm.
yeah, that's
Like
actually really good.
with Baldur's Gate 3, I went with like, yeah, you might like this if you like to really have freedom and maybe even an overwhelmingly amount of options. If you enjoy
Yeah.
that kind of thing, then you might catch a vibe. However, you might not like this if you have a hard time finding a sense of direction, or if you have a hard time, um, following stories that don't necessarily hold your hand. Like things like that. I kind
Hmm.
of like to try and nail it out for the viewer.
I like that because it's acknowledging that it's not gonna be for everyone, where something like a review score or just a pass or fail, you're just saying this game's good or this game's bad, but you're saying it's good if or it's bad if, which is a little bit more, holistic. It's pretty cool.
I think that kind of falls along the
Um,
lines of what Austin was saying in on the last question. Like it kind of puts it in a category, and it feeds off of like those like if you like fighting games, then you'll like Street
mhm.
Fighter 6 because it does this so much better than a lot of its predecessors, recent predecessors, I should say. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
think
kind of interesting to think of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You go ahead,
no,
Austin.
you're good. I was just gonna say, I think that to add to the ifs would be to add to the buts, and be
Mm,
like, you may not like this game, for example, Expedition 33, because it's a turn-based, party-based game that nothing happens until you click a button. But while you're in combat, you do have options for parrying or dodging, or you have specific jumps you have to do to get out of the way, and also you can buff your attacks while you're attacking by timing your quick time events. So having a ranking system that is focusing on the ifs you like this, or if you don't like this game might fit you, but also but if you don't like this normally, maybe give this one a try because it's got a little something extra, a little,
it's
little
got
bit more to add to it.
it's got that
Yeah.
spice.
It's got
Yeah,
that
I'm
spice.
I'm actually gonna steal that butts thing because in the back of my head, whenever I did the ifs, I always, even again going back to Bard's Gate 3, especially Expedition 33, I always thought just slightly in the back of my head that like people can also kind of grow into something, right? Like there is that literally butts, right? Expedition 33, perfect example of that. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is another. I mean, Expedition 33 and Baldur's Gate 3 are perfect examples of games that were so good that it got people to step outside of their comfort zone. So yeah, you might not like this, but man, if you really like good character development or good character arts, then you might want to give it a try, type of thing.
Mm.
So kudos to you because I will be stealing the butts aspect of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Much appreciated.
I've been thinking about several games during this conversation that are like that for me, where it's like it's in a genre I traditionally don't like, and then I end up loving the game when I try it, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I like this genre now, and then I try other games in the genre, and I'm like, I actually don't, I just like that one game. So the
Yeah.
but would be good. It's like I don't like first person shooters, but Doom 2016 has
Mhm.
demonic invasions, and you can like grab a demon's spine through its stomach and break it over your knee and rip its spine out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, maybe, but,
Yeah.
I
cool, yeah.
think and this is kind of adjacent to the question, but like I think a issue that a lot of people have too is they only put their feelings in it into like how they view games. Because like for me, I
Mhm.
bounced off of Cyberpunk really hard. I don't think it's a bad game. It's just not a game for me. And so like my friend got done playing one of the Far Cries. He's like, I'm looking for a new game. I'm like, I wasn't a big fan of Cyberpunk, but you do like those open world first person shooters, and you want a game that's a little bit deeper than just going around killing people. So why don't you try Cyberpunk? And he ended up really liking it. So I mean it I think
Yeah, well,
that's just
that
like
perfectly fits into this structure we're coming up with, where if you made a review of Cyberpunk in this structure, you wouldn't have to just be like, it's a 6 out of 10. I don't recommend it. You could be
yeah.
like, I don't recommend it if, or I
Yeah,
recommend it
yeah.
if, and
I'm
then you
just
could
saying
recommend it
like
to your friend who likes the open world and stuff.
Yeah.
that's like a thing, and like something for like part of the reason why we created the Discord is like I might not like this game, but I can respect other people's
Mm,
opinions on it because of X, Y, and Z, and I do understand why so many people do love this game, even though I bounced off of it,
yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, cool. My last input on this question is we need more ranking metrics, like can you pet the dog? You know, like that's all I need to know.
Yep.
Like, oh, there's not a dog I can pet in the game. Pass. You know, I mean that's pretty concise and specific. I like it.
Right. And in general, I have thought about like peer objective reviews and like what that would look like, where it's
Mm.
like how long or how many quests, how many side quests, how many bugs I ran into. You know what I'm saying? Like, can you pet the
Yeah, that's true.
dog? You know what I'm saying? How many
Yeah,
unlockables? Like, I just thought about like what an objective review would actually looks
yeah.
like, where it's
These
like
are
100%.
facts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just facts about a game. I mean, I hope that never exists because people would take that and make the worst fucking content possible. But um, it would be interesting.
Cool. All
Going
right.
back to
Next
the
question
pet the
comes in.
dog thing. I'm sorry.
Right.
You got my mind on a tangent now. So are we grading it on like there's a dog in the game but you can't pet the dog, or is it like there's no dogs in the game at all and you can't pet the
Or
dog?
the ratio,
It's both. Like,
how many petable dogs are in the game, right? As
right.
opposed to how many
Mhm.
non-petable dogs,
Oh,
NPDs.
Yeah. So now
bro, you're
we're
Yeah.
adding another
we're
layer to
generating a
it.
Yeah.
spectrum.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
not just pass or fail. It's like you can't pet the
Yeah.
dog. There isn't a dog. There's a dog, and you can pet it. How many
Yeah.
dogs? How many
Yeah.
different kinds of animals can you pet?
How long is
If
the animation?
if you are
What happens if
slashing
you
a
do it again?
dog,
Is it
does
a different
that
animation?
count as petting the
Yeah.
dog?
Say it
As
again.
soon as you brought up petting the dog, I want a category that says the pets do not get hurt in this game.
Mm.
Man,
There
when
you
you
go.
when you go and play
Uh,
in a game and you hit the wolf that's trying to kill you and it
Yeah.
just and you're just like,
yeah,
oh
the
no,
dogs,
I don't
man,
want to do this no
the
more. Like
horses.
All right.
I've
Yeah,
Right.
bounced off
you
games
feel
for
that
that.
out.
Sorry.
All right. Next question comes in from Hyperballistic. I like a very clear rubric, and I prefer different parts to be rated and combined, either added or averaged into a compound score. Like gameplay, graphics, story, and then they get a compound score. So he gives an example of a 1 through 5 rubric, with a 1 being a poor example of the genre, 2 being has many things dragging it down, 3 being fun with some issues, 4 being great play, solid controls and ideas, and 5 being pushes boundaries, exemplary of the genre. So, yeah, just a point of discussion if you guys have any thoughts on his ideal preference of reviews. I feel like not a lot of reviewers uh, do that, but some do. But I do think it's more helpful, and that it's very similar to what we were just talking about. Like the more information you can have on the
Mhm.
different aspects of the game. But yeah, what do you
Do
guys think?
like like outlets that do use rubrics, do they make it clear that they rate games off of them?
I don't think a lot of them do. I think it's just like a number system. I think
Yeah.
if they actually used a rubric like he's describing that was very clear, like at the top of the page on every review, it just
Hmm.
spat it out there so you can see it. I think it would make a way better difference than just a number at the end or a
Yeah.
partially filled 5 stars that says 4.327.
Yeah.
Like what
Right.
does that even mean?
Right.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
I think
Right.
if you're gonna stick with numbers, it needs to be clear what those numbers mean because otherwise it's and even the how clear he's saying it, like, "Oh, great for great play, solid controls, and ideas." Well, you can have a great play and great ideas and push boundaries and have terrible controls,
Yeah.
like the climbing games or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't. The rubric
Yeah.
helps, and being clear about it helps, but it still limits
Yeah.
in certain ways.
Possible
I
to
think
make a
I think
perfect
the
rubric.
Yeah, like I think the more numbers you add, just the worse off it'll be, right? And
Hmm.
the more equations you have to do, right? Because for me, like again, my favorite game this year, probably at least top two, is Abiotic Factor. Graphics is
Nice.
a 1.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, the
know,
game does.
Yeah.
graphics is a 1, and like I still think that is a fucking fantastic game, right? But
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
go off of some sort of rubric, let's just cater to me, right? That the graphics will weigh down my score, depending, right? Unless I have them weight differently, then it gets so nuanced to the
Yeah.
point where it's like, what's the point
Yeah.
of the rubric? You know what I mean?
Well, then
Yeah, it's tricky.
would you rate it like graphics versus art style? because the choice of their graphical style is kind of their art style. So are you going to give their art style its own like ranking versus the graphics? Because
I mean,
like
that's
Dude, I
that's a
think
good
he.
point. I mean, for the sense that like even if I grade it within what it is, right? Because it's a weird thing,
yeah.
specifically with that game, because yes, I'm playing the game and it doesn't look great, right? I'm looking at him like I'm not impressed, right?
Hmm.
But I've been playing it since you play it for so long. There are moments within the game where you look and say, "Oh, this shit looks cool,"
Yeah.
right? Or it's like, "Oh, this is very cool."
Yeah.
But it's because you're grading it within the experience that you're having, not necessarily
Mhm.
next to fucking Ghost of Yote, right? Like it's not, it will
Yeah.
always be a zero,
Yeah.
you know? Where on the flip side of that, if I am looking at something with really good graphics, like a Ghost of Yote or a lot of other games, right? Looks cool, but like I'm not wowed at any point during the game once the initial, oh, this looks pretty kind of wears off, you know?
Hmm.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
I think reviews should just literally have either like a video or like images of what the game looks like, and then all it has is a single sentence that just says, "Form your own opinion on these
Yeah.
graphics."
Yeah.
Ooh,
This
I
is what it
do like
looks like.
that though. I do like
Yeah.
that. We
Yeah.
don't rate graphics or art style. You have to come
Yeah,
up with that opinion on your own. Yeah, I kind of like
For
that.
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
It's tricky too because there's obviously like, objective data that's useful in a graphic analysis, like in terms of how the game runs. It's like you probably want to know if the game's running at 5 frames per second and stuttering,
Right.
but that's even tricky because games are updated so frequently and those things get patched. It's like you almost wonder, it's like, should I even bother putting this in the review if it's just going to
Hmm.
change down the
Yeah.
line? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Next comment comes in from Freckled Fox. For me, unscored reviews encourage more critical thinking. Instead of fixating on a number, you actually get to dig into what the game is about, the story, the mechanics, the emotions it brings up. I like that it's more about the experience and less about trying to fit everything into a rating. I also think you take away the pressure of hitting a certain score. It gives developers more room to be creative. They can focus on making something meaningful instead of chasing a 9 out of 10. In the end, unscored reviews feel more authentic to me. They treat games like art instead of just products. I like that comment about from the developer's perspective, like setting out with the mentality in your head while you're making the game. This has to be a 9 out of 10. This has to be a 10 out of 10. I
Mhm.
never really thought about that, but I'm sure that's something that does go on, and that probably puts a lot of stress on them.
Some people get bonuses.
It
At least
sucks that that's a real thing. That's
yeah,
so shitty.
depending on the credit, the Metacritic score, which is
Yeah, yeah,
ass.
yeah,
Which is ass.
yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta tell them to get bots and just bomb it positively bomb
Yeah, there you go.
it.
Yeah, when are
But
we
you got
ever
to.
gonna get the reverse review bomb? People using bots to
Right,
max out a review score.
right.
That'd be
I
great.
mean, we kind of got that with the Game Awards. What was the last year or the year before when everyone was trying to vote Sonic Frontiers as like the review or the player's choice
Did that really
game.
happen?
Yeah, and then they
That's funny.
they voided it because they're like
Oh, I did
like
see that.
Bots.
75% of the votes were bots, so it's
I missed
going
that. That's
to
really
like
funny.
this game.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right. Last question comes in from Holden Hints. We don't live in a perfect world, but I still would prefer a score with every review than without one. I want a combination of a score and words that supplement each other. I do have a bone to pick with 4-star rating scales, though. Got no clue what the hell a 2.5 out of 4 means. That's like a 67 out of 100 rounded to a whole number. And I guess that's okay, but is it a good score out of 4? Yeah, so I guess he's just making the point that it can help to have the context of the score with the words, especially if it could be unclear if they're going back and forth. They like this aspect of the game a lot. They don't like this aspect of the game a lot. So at the end, you're like, well, I'm not really sure where they really fall on it. And then you're like, oh, it's an 8. Okay. But I
No.
I don't know if that's a good thing. Maybe you could chalk that up to bad writing. But yeah, what do you guys
Yeah.
think?
Honestly, I think the best number score I could think of would be one that's like completely arbitrary. Like, can you ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway, or like
Yeah.
Behind the Horn or something, right? It's like this gets 1,000,000 points for graphics. You know what I'm saying? Some
Yeah.
of the best graphics I've ever seen in my life, but it's like maybe about 10 points when it comes to the combat. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Yeah.
like at least that paints a vibe better than, actual 1 out of 10 type of situation there. I think if you gave a game 1,000,000,000 points, and the last 5 games got like barely 100, then all right, it now
Yeah.
holds the record for most points ever given to a game. It's something.
That would be funny if when available, you used an in-game metric or reference in the review score, like Devil May Cry or something. It's like, I give Devil May Cry 2 a D style out of 10, or I give Devil May Cry 3 a triple S out of 10. Whatever you could work in from
Right.
in video game lore would be pretty good. This brings up something for me where I just wish that reviewers that used a specific maximum number would stick to those as whole integers. Like if you're going to have 5 out of 5 stars as your metric, don't give me 4.5s or 3.5 or 3.125. If your metric is out of 10, don't give me a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
If you're going to get that granular, you might as well just kick
do
it
a
up to the
100
point scale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it brings up the question again of like, what does that really mean? Like, what is 7.25 out of 10? If that's just a 72.5 out of 100, how's that different than a 73.5 out of 100?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Right. That's why I feel like, again, the arbitrary number makes the most sense, because if you gave a game a 999,999.9, then it at least begs the question, what was the thing that stopped it from hitting 1,000,000,000, right? And that, there's a conversation there, right?
That's what I was gonna say, is that like
Right.
there's got to be like an all or nothing thing, where it's just like either you go so hard on the details that you get like break down each section and have like a 10 out of 10 for this and that and whatever, and then that's when you get 100, is adding them all together, or just this game gets negative 3 billion because that one boss when he stopped beating my ass. Like it doesn't have to. People are trying to like make it so serious. It's like, nah, just have some fun with it, guys.
Yeah.
Stories of 7.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's
even just throwing that in at the end, like, yeah,
exactly.
the story was 7.
Right.
It is frustrating that it seems like we're getting at the most useful reviews have as much information as possible, like have categories of content, how they're doing each content, what is the reviewer's personal preferences, even like something like Famitsu does, where they have like 4 reviewers and they're all giving that information. That would be like the perfect world, but it's just like, at the end of the day, there's a limit to like how much they can afford to pay people and how fast, unfortunately, they have to get these reviews out the door to try and meet like release embargoes and stuff. But in a perfect world, it would be sweet if we had like a panel reviewing categories.
I do kind of like your take on like just throwing arbitrary numbers, like going back to Fennec Fox's question. Like it kind of gives like the little kid of, this game made me feel this good, and and so like you can kind of just make up ridiculous answers to it, and like I feel like that portrays feelings like with numbers a lot more than, oh yeah, it's a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. Because again, like that, like you said, that kid who says, "I love you this much," you know what I'm saying? Like you understand fully that, like, all right, I get it, man. You know what I'm saying? Or it's like, I don't like it a lot, I love it this much. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, he doesn't really like, broccoli. You know what I mean? Like he's not the biggest fan. He'll let
We could take it literally and just have a kid on staff and get him to make like a body language gesture that we just give a snapshot of, and that's the review. But it's kind of the best of both worlds, because you can not have a review score, but have a quote score that just kind of gives a general feeling. That's not an actual.
I want to get little numerical. Timmy's this many review on GTA 6. That sounds really interesting to me.
Then you got to
Um,
pay them, have them sign a W-2, and then it's a
Oh,
whole, tax
wow.
Yeah.
exemption thing.
And all the
Mm,
money goes to the parents, and then he doesn't see
Yeah.
any of it.
oh, that's
Yeah,
right. That's right. That's
exactly.
right.
No, I've thought
yeah.
about it. Trust me, I've thought about it.
One thing that's interesting I talked about with Holden Hintz is he personally keeps records of media he consumes on a 100 point scale. And to him, it's useful because he knows what an X out of 100 means to
Mhm.
him, because it's his reviews. And I was wondering what you guys think of that, of the usefulness of a review score, numerically assigned to something for your own records. I'm wondering, I mean, you say you review games, Ronell, do you keep in your own notes or when you're writing reviews, do you have like a score you reference or anything like that?
Nah, just
Yeah.
completely not. It's completely based off of like my experience with it and like how much I felt about it, how much I want to push other people to play it is the closest thing to like quantif, value when it comes to like games that I played. How much I want to, yell about it from the streets.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What if there was
Cool.
a review rubric that was just like, I guess it would just be come down to the good, the bad, and the ugly kind of review scheme. Like what's really good about it, and it's the bulletin points, and then what's bad, and then like what's drastically bad. But I don't know. I'd like to have it on a bigger scale because that feels like there's two negatives to that review process instead of like trying to uplift games. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
make it even like
Or
I
goods and
had
bads.
what if you counted the ifs and buts? What if, this game has 5 ifs and 10 buts, right? Again, pretty arbitrary. I'm pretty sure somebody will say, oh man, buts equals bad, but not if you know the review, right? Not necessarily,
Mhm.
right? Who knows? I don't know. Like that could maybe be a thing. Can you just because
Yeah.
the reason the score is really even there is just so that they can have a stamp, especially nowadays, right? So they
Mhm.
can
Yeah,
have the
exactly.
screenshot, snapshot post that they could
Yeah.
just put up there instead of having paragraphs for people to read, right? They have the
Yeah.
the number and a couple of bullet points, right?
Mhm.
The too long didn't read became the entire thing.
I think you could do that
So
with
like
the goods and the butts or the goods and the bads, Like you could still
right,
have that snapshot, but you're covering everything in just
yeah,
like a couple bullet points instead. You don't have to
right,
put a score there.
true.
I had two ideas that I think would like be a good step forward. One kind of more serious, one kind of more goofy. Um, I want to be able to review the reviewers when the critics
Oh,
come out here and say, "Oh, this game is like the best thing ever," or "This is the worst thing ever," and I just completely disagree with him. I want to be able to be like, "Nah, that one's terrible, and his reasons are terrible," and blah 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 blah. So having a website where we can go see those reviews and then be able to be like, "Oh no, this guy isn't. Nobody agrees with him. Maybe he's not right. Let me see what the other
right.
guys people think about."
Yeah.
And
Would
then
really help.
people lose their jobs, Austin. How do you feel now?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you'd have to like build a company specifically about like,
Yeah.
okay, we know we're gonna get some people who don't like you. That's not gonna affect
Yeah.
your job, but we need honest reviews, and then we'll build from there.
Yeah.
Something like I would love to have more reviews based on actual opinions other than just a number that the critic threw out because they had to
Mhm.
play the game in a week.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
think they should get fired. I think they should just lose
yeah.
their check, right? For the time being. Just
Hey,
We know you
you
worked 60 hours this week to bust through this game. You get
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. Not today. You got 10, 20 negative reviews for your last review of Ghost of Tsushima. So sorry.
you're
You will not
taking
be
a
getting paid.
20-hour pay
Jeez.
cut.
We're gonna get into a review
Better luck next
inception
time.
where it's like you have the Metacritic website, but it's not reviewing games, it's
Just
reviewing
people.
reviews, and then you have critic and
Golly.
user reviews of people that reviewed the
That's
review.
the the drop
Yeah,
off rate of reviewers would fall off so much, man. Nobody would.
yeah,
That would be a dangerous job in America.
yeah.
The other thing I was thinking was shout outs, and like so it'd be like a little app or something and you just carry it on your phone, and then you'd have all your games that you've played, and every time you went and told the buddy, "Hey, this game, go play it." You just go on your phone, you hit shout out. And then that would be how many times you've recommended it. And that's the big step when a game goes from yeah, it was fine to I loved this game is because you found a buddy and you were like, you need to play this.
Yeah.
So then a whole like
Yeah.
the collection of all that data, you can go see, oh, this game has 37,000 shout outs by now and it's only been a week.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something here that's worth looking at.
That's
That'd be
fun.
so
Just
cool.
a little fun.
Yeah,
That'd be
that's
cool
a
as
fun
hell.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
patent
you're
that,
talking
bro.
about like shouting from the rooftop, I was like, that would be that'd be for fun.
That would be very fun data to have. It's
Yeah.
always fun to see these like indie games come out and you never
Sure.
heard of it, and then after a day, it's got like 5 million users, and you're like, wait, what? What is this game? Where did it come
Yeah.
from?
No, facts. Yeah, that's a amazing idea. Definitely patent that, because then you can it becomes a web, right, of like shout outs versus people who went back to those shout outs and like confirmed, right? Like, oh no, he was right. This was cool, right? Now like that shout
Oh,
outs
yeah.
get boosted. Now you got leaderboards, best shout out of the games of the
Yeah.
month, boosting up. Those are like hot and trendy games now, you know?
Oh, dude,
Oh,
just like
shit.
geolocated
Little-
It's
too. You get a
Reddit,
globe
bro.
and you see the hot
Right?
spots. Yeah.
A little
Right?
like social media board where like you actually reach specifically in the app shout out to
Yeah.
your buddy
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
respond with, oh yeah, no, this was worth it. Like,
No, for sure. And then you can like sell that data, track them, and then hire the
Yes.
biggest shout outs and then pay them off behind
Yeah,
under the
there you go.
table. And then it's a
That's
really
what
good
we
idea.
And then you ruin it with money.
maybe we make it anonymous.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. The big shout out influencers start to exist, and then it becomes the whole thing.
Are they
Worth
just
it.
called shout outers then? Like what? Like
Shouters.
shouters?
Shouters for sure.
I like
Yeah,
screamers
for
better.
shouters.
Screamers. Screamers are people that have terrible recommendations.
Oh,
So
right,
they're-
right,
right.
yeah,
There you go.
We
yeah,
can have shouters
You
and
get downvoted
screamers.
too many times.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is actually really cool. I don't want to steal 2 ideas from one podcast, but
Oh no, send it.
I'll give you credit.
Yeah.
Well, it's all our community questions. Congratulations, everyone. We reached the end of the podcast. We did it. Pat yourselves on the back. Time for final thoughts. Jonah, what are your final thoughts?
Shout out to our patrons. Thank you guys for staying with us through the hiatus and everything. We've come back stronger and better. You know, Ant's. I gotta give a shout out to Ant. He's kicking ass on the editing and our video assets that have been done by Hunter Pearson and our fantastic host are excellent. You guys are killing it on those. Shout out to Abstraction, who did the music. 10 out of 10. There's a score for you. Yeah, and thank you to the community for engaging in like our conversations on the Discord, commenting on our videos and stuff. You guys are awesome. Thank you for giving us our questions for the podcast every week. Y'all are great.
Hell yeah. All right, Ronell, as our guest, what are your final thoughts? It could be anything that's on your mind. Doesn't have to be related to the show or the topic or anything. Final thoughts.
Yeah, no. Fuck review numbers.
Mhm.
Great podcast. Shout out to you guys, actually.
Thanks, man.
Video game talk show, Checkpoint the Show on YouTube. That's really cool. You guys should check that out. We actually did a review of the reviewer, where we checked out a review from undisclosed popular review site,
Ooh, okay.
and picked it apart. Yeah, I just appreciate people that are engaging. Shout out to your community. I feel like they had some cool questions. They had some critical thinkers, and they're they're engaged and shit. I think that's fucking awesome. Those are the future. Make
Yeah.
more of those.
Thanks,
More of
man.
those community members.
Hell yeah. Austin, final thoughts.
Numbers are a nice starting point for if you just need a quick down and dirty like yes no maybe kind of thing, but don't limit yourself. It's not worth it, especially when you're like us adults who just have a limited amount of time to do stuff, be it movies or games or whatnot. I think we've hit a wall where numbers aren't not enough anymore.
That's why
Also
we
go
need to
fix
go
you
to
up
a
at
billion.
Yes,
Yeah, preferably trillion, but billion.
Trillions. Oh, billions.
I want my reviews in colors. Like
Yeah.
this one made me feel
Oh,
red.
That
And
would
this one
be
made me feel
interesting,
very cool.
actually.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Green.
Mhm.
Or just
Yeah,
over a lot of microtransactions?
Red, violence, and gore.
Austin has gone blurry.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did.
Oh,
There
there
we
it is.
All right. My final thoughts is the whole topic reminded me of another podcast that's relatively new, I think, called Fun Factor, that I recommend checking out. It's by a couple guys that themselves used to be and maybe still are video game journalists, and they actually go back and look at physical copies of gaming magazines and review reviews in them. So like they have an episode on like the Nintendo Power with Mario 64, like the Edge magazine with Final Fantasy 6. And it's really interesting to just get that snapshot back in time of like what people were thinking about these games.
Interesting.
Like not only when they came out, but in some cases before they came out, like the previews and stuff. It's just an interesting like time capsule. It's a cool podcast. But yeah, with that, been your host, Katie Bertha Lane, and as always, keep debating. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, my wife needs something. I'll be right back.
Oh, you're
Sorry.
good. I'm a slow reader.
We know. Sorry.
Damn.
Sorry.